Today I'm talking to Julia Boorstin. Julia, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I am CNBC's senior media and technology reporter, and I've been at CNBC Business News as an on-air television reporter for over 16 years now. And before that, I was a different kind of business reporter. I was a magazine reporter at Fortune magazine. So it's been 22 years since I graduated college working in the business news space. And over the last couple of years, I spent my time writing a book called When Women Lead, which I'm so excited to talk to you about today.
Julia, the book is a masterpiece. It's a must read for everyone, but especially women. We have to give it to our mothers, our daughters, our sisters for Christmas. I'm really interested how you got to the point where you wanted to write the book, and also, how was the time writing the book? It's so interesting. You've interviewed so many, over 120 women for that. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, so in my career, I've interviewed literally thousands of leaders. I don't have a hard number, but I know definitely thousands of CEOs, founders, executives, both at CNBC and at Fortune. Now, and the vast majority of them were, of course, men, because men comprise the vast majority of leadership roles. Now, in the past 5 or 7 years or so, I started to notice more and more women in the mix. There were some women CEOs, there were some women COOs, CFOs, and then in the startup space, and I'm always fascinated by entrepreneurs and startups, I started noticing more female founders. And what I was seeing is that not only had these women defied extraordinary odds to succeed in male-dominated fields, but they were also sort of approaching things differently. They were approaching problem solving differently. They were talking about the markets they wanted to work in differently. And they were thinking both about long-term and short-term implications of their work. So I was really fascinated by them. And the book started out as me just wanting to tell their stories. You know, there's so many extraordinary female leaders, and we don't know about them. I think the media tends to focus on just a handful of names, and sometimes those are failures instead of successes. And I think about Elizabeth Holmes. Everyone knows about Elizabeth Holmes, but no one knows about some of these leaders of smaller companies that have had remarkable success and are on a path to more success. So I wanted to, first off, just tell those success stories. And the more I interviewed women, and yes, I interviewed about 120 women, the more interviews I did, the more I saw these commonalities, these common skills, strengths, and strategies that women were deploying. And from there, I thought it's not enough for me just to tell these stories. I need to really understand the research. So I went from the storytelling and the interview process into digging into academic research about what it was that these women were doing that enabled them to be so successful. So I ended up reading about 300 academic studies about everything from business skills and strategies to how women approach problems differently. And I wove that together with the stories to explain what was going on in each of these women's own personal narratives.
Julia, there is so much amazing data in this book. Some of it is extremely depressing, which is why you need to keep digging and keep reporting, and we need to set up things like She Can. Tell me a little bit, what are your main takeaways? What would your main messages be?
Well, first, in terms of all that data that's depressing, I totally agree. I mean, the numbers are mind-boggling. Female founders over the past decade have gotten about 3% of all venture capital dollars, 3%. And that number actually declined last year to about 2%. And there's so much research about ways in which women face double standards for everything from showing emotion or using humor in the workplace to even succeeding in a male-dominated field. I mean, it is a remarkable and mind-boggling list of these double standards that women face. But here's the thing. I discovered in reporting this book that actually knowing and understanding the facts about the landscape that we live in, the facts about the challenges that women are going to face or are facing right now is essential. It has helped me as a journalist navigate the world, the male-dominated business world, and be more successful. And I truly believe that understanding your challenges makes it easier to overcome them. You can't scale a mountain unless you know how high it is. Any woman working in the business world today needs to know what she is up against. So that is my first piece of advice on how to take this massive depressing data and turn it into a tool for good and for progress. But then also there's all this other data about how female-led companies with diversity, both in terms of gender and in terms of race, those companies perform better. There's so much research showing that companies would be smarter to invest in more women. They would be wise to find more opportunities to have diversity in their companies and to have more women in leadership roles, because that pays off financially. And I truly have seen that we need to shift the conversation about diversity, gender diversity, racial diversity, away from being like a nice thing for companies to do for their employees. It's not a nice thing for companies to invest in diversity. It's the smart thing for them to do financially. And I think it's time to shift this conversation into this being a financial imperative. Women need to hold more powerful positions for financial reasons, business reasons, not philanthropic ones.
Yeah, I really am now at a point where I think that women should be a firm fixture on the economic recovery plan and really take it that far, because that's also a thing that your book shows. It really pays to invest in women leaders, in Black women, in women-led startups. So I love, and it really comes out so well in your book with those stories. What is your main motivator to do this work?
You know, it's a complicated question, because I started off just finding these women inspiring me myself. And I feel very lucky to have gotten access to so many phenomenal women, and to get to walk away from an interview feeling enlightened, feeling motivated, feeling ready to take on the world. And so I would say it started out first by just wanting to share that and to pay that forward. I can't tell you how many interviews I would leave from CNBC and just feel like, oh, if this woman can do that, anyone can do anything. We all need to take on big challenges and to feel excited to try to change the world. So I think it started with that. But then the more I dug into the data, the more I understood that if we're going to have a successful economy, if things are going to ever really change, we need to change the stories and the data that's out there. We need to have a different conversation. And I truly believe that stories and numbers can empower women and also can educate men and to start to force change. It was really when I went from the storytelling to the research project piece of this book that I understood that this book could be a tool for driving change. But it all really originated with this idea that I was a woman working, covering business, which is very male dominated. And I wanted other people to be able to experience the same excitement and inspiration that I was feeling from interviewing so many phenomenal women.
I mean, every page I read in your book, I see little, things going up. Oh my God, it's so exciting. So yes, that's exactly what you convey. I'm wondering, Julia, what is your superpower, do you think? What makes you so good at this?
Well, I truly believe everyone has their own superpowers. We all have these skills, some of which we have traditionally thought of as flaws that we could deploy as superpowers. For me, I think it's my curiosity and my love of asking questions. There's nothing I love more. I feel so lucky to be able to interview people every day and ask them questions and learn about them and the world. And I think my superpower is this never-ending curiosity and asking one question and having it lead to another question. And I think that's what really led me down the journey of this book, trying to understand what enabled these women to succeed despite the odds, beyond all expectations, and going from that curiosity to the curiosity of, well, what's enabling this? What are these skills? How does this actually work on a broader basis? And so one piece of curiosity leading to another. I think curiosity, which is not traditionally associated with anything about power or even leadership, I think has been an amazing tool for me. And just ask my girlfriend. Sometimes I ask too many questions because I'm so excited to learn, but it's I think one of my personal gifts.
I think there can never be too many questions. Julia, I think you are really a great person to ask what your top tips would be for other women, because if I look at your book, I think that they are real big topics that you formed together, and these are top tips in themselves, how you did the chapters in your book. So give us a few tips.
I think the very first one is surround yourself with other people, both men and women, who make you your best self. There's a lot of really interesting research, which I write about in When Women Lead, about the power of networks, particularly if you're a woman in a male-dominated field. You need to have what they call a microenvironment. You need to have other women around you to help you battle that bias and battle those stereotypes. So I think that's the very basic fact. But then also create mentorship relationships. Reach out to people who you know you can help, but also are more senior and can help you. So I think that relationships and the networks is step one. And there's so much research, which I write about how women are reluctant to ask people for professional help. They're happy to offer it, but unlike men, they're reluctant to ask for it. And building those strong relationships and understanding the value of a professional network will help women overcome that and start to advocate for themselves and say, this is what I need, guys. Can you help me out here? Anyone know this person I want to meet? So I think the network is number one. Number two is realizing that nobody is born an amazing leader. Nobody is born an amazing executive, an amazing employee. Everyone has to work on themselves. The most phenomenal CEOs I interviewed, they did not start out that way. They started out aware of their flaws, aware of their strengths, and willing to work on them. And I think that we all need to think about this idea of self-competition. Success at work is not about competing with a person sitting across from you or sitting near you in the office. Success is about understanding who you are and how to be a better version of yourself and pushing yourself to succeed. And I write a lot about this idea of self-competition in the book and creating your own benchmarks for personal growth. So I think that's another key thing. And then also just understanding, and this is part of that, we all have our own leadership superpowers. You mentioned that, but we don't have to lead in this old-fashioned archetypal, male, top-down, hierarchical leadership way. We can succeed by being the best version of who we are. And that doesn't mean fitting into this box of typically male leadership that we've seen so much in the past. And I think it's really about self-knowledge, understanding yourself, and being willing to break free from the stereotypes and pattern matching that is so dominant in society. Now is a moment for everyone of any gender to try to figure out their own path forward for leadership. Because I do think that the business environment is so volatile. There's so much uncertainty right now. Now is the time for everyone to find their own unique voice.
Yeah, to really come up with a new leadership concept, which
Exactly.
the women in your book have shown over and over again. Julia, what are your plans or dreams for your future? What's in store for you?
Well, my first plan is to keep getting this book out into the world. It has been a thrill of a lifetime. To write the book was one thing, but now to talk about the book with so many women across the United States, in London, in the UK, and to really talk about how women can be leveraging their own superpowers. I really want to empower women. I want to educate them about how to navigate challenges. There are plenty of challenges out there, a lot of which people have sort of assumed are gone, but there's still so many double standards. And I don't want to dwell on the negative. I just want to use that data to help women move forward. And I also want to really drive this conversation to enable men to learn from women, for men to start leading more like women. Now is a moment for change. And if my book can be a part of it, then it means I've succeeded.
Julia, I'm so grateful that you wrote this book. Your book is a part of it and also a catalyst for transformation, I'm sure. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much for your interest in When Women Lead.